Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Roger Florkowitz,
Here.
Paul Petrie,
Here.
Tom Falk,
Here.
David Tarosi,
Here.
Tim Arvanitis.
Here.
Attorney Christian Bartholomew,
Here.
Fire Chief Robert Patterson,
Here.
Deputy Fire Chief David Meyer,
Here.
Interim Recording Secretary Stephanie Bodiger, here.
All right. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'll just kind of introduce things preliminarily, and then I think the first item of business that we'll want to take care of is voting on officers so that we get one of you guys selected as a president, vice president, and secretary so we can properly run the meetings from here on out. Noting that there's no prior minutes, no correspondence shown or old business, then I think we can move directly into the new business. And if the board doesn't have any objections, do you guys want to begin with the selection of the officers?
Okay.
All right. So then we would entertain nominations from the board for, we'll need a president, a vice president, and then a secretary, according to the statute. The president would have the duties of normally running the meetings. The vice president would do that in his stead if he's not available, and then the secretary would be in charge of making sure the minutes are properly constructed and whatnot, and that duty, of course, can be delegated to a staff member if we so choose, which is probably the way we'll end up doing it. So we will entertain nominations from any of you for a president.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, what's your last name? Roger Florkowitz. Nominate Mr. Florkowitz. Florkowitz, yeah. It's hard, we don't know each other.
You guys,
I don't.
for recording purposes, because we are live right now, can you make sure you speak into the microphone so that it catches everybody's voices?
I'll nominate Mr. Florkowitz as president.
Okay. Any further nominations?
I'd like to nominate Tim Arvanitis for vice president.
Oh, you dog.
Well, we can do it as a slate. That's fine. Any further nominations for vice president? Do we have any nominations for secretary? Nobody wants that job, right?
I'd like to nominate Paul Petrie.
All right, Paul Petrie is nominated for secretary. Do we have any further nominations? Well, hearing no further nominations, it sounds like we've selected our slate, which is unopposed. Are there any comments before we proceed to a vote on the slate? All right. Then one of you can make a motion to, having heard the nominations, to accept the proposed slate of unopposed officers.
I'll make the nomination that the recommendation that we accept the slate as presented.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Congratulations, gentlemen. So, having chosen a president, then you get the dubious task of running the rest of the meeting.
Sorry.
And I will assist as required. So,
Okay, according to the business that was shown, we've kind of jumped ahead to the election of officers as the First order, I know that there was a discussion in the paperwork provided to us regarding the terms of the office. I believe that mine as the appointed position was one of them that was a 2-year term automatically, and I think we should identify the other terms as who the individuals are and what their terms are.
Sure. So if I could offer by way of explanation, the terms for the Merit Board Commissioners are generally 4-year terms. Pursuant to the statute, 2 of the individuals who have either been elected or chosen serve 2-year terms. Now, the folks coming from the council, they have already selected who their 4-year people and who their 2-year people are. For the folks chosen by the fire department did not select at the time of the vote which one was a 2-year term and which one was a 4-year term. So we'll need to decide of the 2 of you that were selected by the fire department, who's doing the 2-year and who's doing the 4-year. And the reason for those differing terms is just so when the election comes up again, we have staggered terms of office and we're not replacing the whole board all at once.
Can we identify of the 5 members here, who is each of those positions who are?
Yeah, why don't we just go down the line and have everybody identify themselves and maybe present how they came to be on the board, whether that was by appointment or election.
My name's Roger Florkowitz. By my understanding, I was appointed by the town board, and therefore mine would be a 2-year term.
Tom Falk, I was appointed by the town council. Is that appropriate?
My name is Dave Tarosi. I was appointed by the town council as well. I'm not familiar with the terms. I imagine it's 2-year.
If his is the 2-year, then
I'm assuming that's what it was. I am not sure. That's why I wanted to make sure we kind of
Okay.
clarified what it was.
well, we can, I don't have the council minutes right in front of me, but the council's already specified, so we can clarify that, which one's which, if you guys don't know. And then we have our fire department folks down at the end, right?
That's correct. My name is Tim Arvanitis, and I was selected by the fire department.
My name is Paul Petrie, same.
Okay.
Mr. President, there's Councilman Smits here. Maybe he would be able to help us out with that.
Mr. Schmidt, are you able to provide any enlightenment as to the terms and who the appointees?
Unfortunately, I don't have those minutes also in front of me.
Okay.
But, yeah, the three of you, 2 of them was appointed by the town council president, and 1 was appointed by the town council. Other than that,
So we'll have to table that for the time being to determine.
Well, the council appointees and the council president appointee, those have already been determined. So really, the only question on the floor right now is of the 2 fire department folks, one of those guys is going to be serving a 4-year term. Another would be serving a 2-year term. Is there any preference?
You can be reelected, right, at the end of your term?
You can be reelected, yeah.
Yeah, I would offer to take the 2-year.
Okay,
I guess I'm the 4-year.
all right. Any comments or anybody opposed to that?
So then the 3 terms from so then we'll just clarify the 3 terms from the town council, the president and the town are all 2-year terms then?
No, 2 of them are going to be 4 years, and there's only one of you guys that's serving
Okay.
2 years. So if you need clarification on that,
that's
we'll
what
get you
we'll
a
have
copy
to-
of the,
To clarify what that was.
Jim
Okay.
to the rescue.
Yeah, it was never made apparent to me that.
Okay, so here's what we've got from the town council appointments. Well, these don't, does this have the name on it?
It does say from the president, though.
Okay, so the appointment for the town council president is going to have a term ending 2026, and then
Which is an R or D.
that's an R.
Okay, so that would be you.
So that makes sense. That's you're the 2-year guy. So the remainings are 4-year guys. Actually, this has one appointment from town council that says term ending 2026. So this has 2 years. Well, we can. A 2, a 2, and a 4 is the way you guys voted on it. I'm not sure if that's entirely, the way it was supposed to, but we can clarify that because that's a council thing.
To verify to make sure it matches with the statutes.
Right. Okay, so we do have our 2-year term for the fire department. And I don't know that it's required, but probably best if we had a motion to accept.
Motion.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we've approved the 2-year term from the fire department appointees. Next item of business?
Okay, next item of business is the formulation of rules governing the board's operation, establishing a regular meeting times, dates, and order of businesses to be addressed at the meeting and in agendas.
So again, just to clarify what we'll need, I'll jump in there. We do have pursuant to the statute, the board is supposed to meet on a regular basis, and that's preferably monthly. I don't know if you guys have ever sat on any other town boards before. Most of them do set monthly meetings throughout the year, and then if there's no business to be considered, maybe they'll cancel that meeting. That's really up to your discretion. But we had a list of dates that was provided by the town of Schererville showing other meeting dates for other boards. Was that emailed? I don't know if that was circulated.
Yes, it was.
To everyone? Okay.
Yes.
Did everybody get a copy of those dates?
Yes.
Okay. Then really it's up to you guys to figure out, what day of the month might be good for your monthly meetings. One thing that I would just put out there for consideration is we do have the Board of Safety that meets. The dates are on here. You can see that is going to have Fire Chief already present, and we'll have a lot of the relevant folks that would be interested in this meeting already in attendance. So you might want to think about if it would be appropriate to set your meeting either immediately before or after theirs. That being said, I'm not going to tell you what to do. That's up to you. So,
Just as a point of clarification, historically, the Board of Safety meetings, are those, half hour, typically what does that run?
Those, actually, honestly, it could be 15 minutes is norm, and then half hour to hour, a little over an hour was the last one, but that's because they had promotions and all kinds of awards that night. That was probably the longest meeting, but otherwise, I think, Chief, you can attest that they're usually very short meetings.
And what day are those on again?
Pardon?
What day are those on again?
So it's always the first Thursday of every month. And they start at 5 o'clock. We have the study session, 5:30 starts the meeting. And, yeah, that's why we were kind of thinking if we just held a meeting, like he said, either before or after.
Immediately after, yeah. I think after that would, from a work standpoint and the scheduling that we had done, is that we propose that we make it adjacent to that meeting immediately following. How does that work as far as our announcements and?
6:30 or 7?
So do we want to allow an hour, to make sure that we comply with open meeting?
Most of the other boards meet for about an hour, or at least schedule about an hour for their meetings. I'd say it's pretty rare, at least from the ones that I attend, that they go much over that, although there are there are certain boards that have extensive agendas on a regular basis. But
Are there issues if there are issues, if we start late because the other board overruns, is that going to run afoul of any requirements as far as?
generally not. You know, obviously, if somebody's already occupying the room and using it, you just kind of wait your turn and.
I just want to make sure we aren't running afoul of having to repost something because of a half-hour delay or something along those lines, so.
Sure. I don't think that would be problematic, seeing as the meeting was already noticed and everybody's going to be in the same place. They're already expecting to be there, so.
Mr. President, does it have to be time certain, or can we say 10 minutes following the Board of Safety meeting?
Or immediately following.
Immediately following, 10 minutes
But
after?
the problem is with that, you know, like you said, sometimes, and I'm Christian, I think you can attest, is it could be a half hour, could be that hour.
Well, that's why I'm saying, if we said immediately following.
Yeah, or 5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, or 5 minutes
I mean,
following.
if that's, I don't know how that works because it's a live stream, so it might have to be at a specific time, not,
I'm not in favor of that. That would put us hanging out at 2 meetings.
can I make a suggestion, is, if you don't mind? If we set it at 6 o'clock, and then it, you know, because of the fact that, like I said, most of the meetings, I mean, we sit in all of them, and they're pretty much done in 5, sometimes 5 minutes. That's the majority, and there's that once in a lifetime, you're going to have those an hour. And I think if we had at least 6, I think that would be a perfect time. And then if we need to adjust when it comes to that time, if we see a large meeting, we can always put it on the agenda prior to the public, knowing that it might start at 6:30 instead of 6 this time.
Would there ever be a need to have study sessions and executive sessions, and we do it the same then as provide a study session immediately before the meeting, and then a half hour after have our published meeting, similar to what they have with the 5 o'clock study session, 5:30 Board of Safety, then do a 6 PM and then a 6:30? I guess
That's up to you. So as far as study sessions go, there's a lot of boards that regularly schedule a study session that is either right before or right after their normal meeting. I think you can see a few of those on that calendar. Study sessions are scheduled at your option. So if you don't feel that you will need regular study sessions, then you don't necessarily have to schedule them. You can have ad hoc study sessions. Those would have to be, you'd have to provide proper notice in order to hold those, which generally isn't too hard. You know, it's 48 hours and you post notice of the study session. So I guess that would depend on the volume of business that you expect to be handling. I will say that in the next, say, 60 days or so, there's probably going to be a fair volume of business. We may even need to have extra study sessions because one of the responsibilities of the board is going to be to come up with a set of rules for hiring, firing, promotion, all of the personnel decisions that constitute your duties. And obviously, that'll take a bit of legwork to get those together, and you'll need to collaborate on those. So at the outset, at least, it seems like study sessions might be very useful.
Yep.
Now, would those also be typical for, I see that one of the items that has been a priority is the hiring and proposed hiring list. Would those be things, I guess, that, are there certain items that are going to be handled in a closed session because of personnel issues, or how is that addressed?
There are certain things that are handled in closed session. There's a statute that governs executive sessions, is what it's called. Those are to be used for very limited purposes. And at least the way the safety board has previously proceeded, the consideration of the, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but the consideration of the hiring list really hasn't been done in closed session. That's been done at the open meeting.
Yeah. Discussed in the back, in the pre-meeting, and then just voted on in the main meeting.
Okay. Okay.
I make a motion that we schedule a 6 o'clock meeting on the first Thursday of the month.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
All right. The next item that I've got included on the agenda is just the order of business that's to be addressed. For the purpose of this meeting, we formulated an agenda that's loosely based on the form of agenda that's used for many of our other boards, including the Safety Board. If this is an acceptable format, then I think we could entertain a motion to proceed with the order of business as
Using the
detailed,
standard
using the
template.
standard template that we see for the agenda today.
I make a motion that we follow the standard template as the
Point of order.
template for,
Sorry, you can't. Mr. President?
yeah.
You can't make the motion. Oh, sorry. I'll do it for you, though.
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion, we accept the template as presented for the agenda.
Second.
Seconds? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, moving right along. The statute is fairly vague about how much or how little we have to do today at this organizational meeting. It does provide that we will elect the officers today, that we will, so I'll just read it to you so you know what I'm considering as we work on this agenda. Adopt rules to govern the commission, including the time and place of regular monthly meetings and special meetings that are necessary to transact the business of the commission. Majority of the commissioners constitutes a quorum. Each year, the commissioners shall select from among the commissioners a president, vice president, and secretary, and the commission shall keep a permanent record of its proceedings. That's really all the guidance that the statute sets out for what we have to do today. Now, other things that you might want to think about, today we have, as our recording secretary, essentially, I apologize, I didn't catch your name.
Stephanie Bodiger.
Stephanie, and you're with the fire department?
I'm
is
with
that-
the police
You're with the
department.
police department, okay. Logistically, we'll need to figure out, how you guys want to make sure the minutes are taken and recorded. Stephanie, are you generally available to perform this task at the meetings, or?
I'm the recording secretary for two other groups, so that's about all that I think I can handle.
Okay.
She's
Chief,
doing this out, to help us get going, and then our plan is to try to see if we can find somebody else that is willing to do that recording for us.
okay. So,
I have a question regarding that. The safety board that meets, I'm assuming then that you're recording secretary for that one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that answers that question.
I liked where you were going with that.
Yeah, I was thinking that we could, since it's going to be the same time and moving in, that would go. But are there any suggestions that we have?
Do you have a short list, Chief, on who you might consider bringing into that role?
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
Does it have to be?
We'll check with some of the town
member
staff
of the
that
t-
does
does it have to
recording,
be an
see if they're willing
employee
to
of
do
the
this
town?
also, but don't know if they're going to.
Yeah, are there restrictions on,
You know, I'm not quite sure, to be honest, if that's specified anywhere. I've never looked particularly into that issue. I think that if we've got a secretary that's been appointed, maybe that would be a task for them to interface with chief and,
make that an agenda item for next time to get that nailed
yeah,
down?
roll it over and we can kind of act in the interim with what we've got.
Okay.
You got any ideas, Paul, being our current secretary?
Well, I take minutes for 2 meetings. I'm not doing another one either, but, but we'll get it figured out. We'll get it figured out.
Right on.
All right. Organizationally, is there anything else that you guys feel you want to address as far as just how the meetings are going to be run?
I do have a logistics question from if you're doing a study session meeting, is it in this venue?
And yeah, anymore they tend to be because any of the public meetings that any of our town boards have are now broadcast, and this is the
this
the
room's set
room
up
that
for
has the
streaming.
setup.
Okay.
Do we have a proposed list, I mean, moving on to the next item, do we have a proposed list of for hiring and what an assumed timeline is that you have for your needs?
Yes, thank you. So we've been working on this list for a while. We brought it to the Board of Safety the last meeting to get it moved forward, but because of this starting, we had to wait until this meeting to get it approved. So we've been doing the hiring process since the beginning, or the ending of last year. We started a new hiring process with a firm called Public Safety Answers. It's an online type advertisement in that. First time we used it, and we got great results from it. And we also, after we used that system, 2 members from the Board of Safety, 2 members from our PERF board did live interviews with the top 6 candidates that are on this list. And they formulated the percentages and the numbers and came up with their scoring for the employees recommended by them for hiring. So we have that all done. We're looking for approval from you guys to please accept
So
what has
you-
already taken place, so we're not starting this all over again, because
You feel that the scoring system was set up and done by the other Board of Safety was adequate and thorough?
absolutely, yeah, and like I said, this is all new, the beginning part of it, the advertisement, the testing, the scoring, was all done by this Public Safety's Answers, and then, like I said, then they come up with formulation. The boards, the people that were selected to be on the board reviewed all that stuff, and they had to do a scoring online with that, and then they did a scoring in person with their live interviews, and that's how these numbers came up. It's close to what we did in the past, except for the online version and the testing and everything, and got real good results. Everybody that sat on the committee for doing the interviews and that, we're very happy with the people that turned out for this and the way the system worked out from, what was our total of applicants that put in?
27.
27 nationwide, and the list, they said, that got narrowed down to this, it was a good process, and it proved it worked, because they were very happy with everyone that's on this list right here.
And the in-person interviews have been completed with those individuals?
Yep, and that's all part of this whole score that's here.
What are the positions that you're hiring for?
We're hiring for, we got 2 positions. We have a position that we just opened up for a new firefighter paramedic, which could be entry as a EMT, and then we send them to paramedic schools if no paramedics applied. And then the second one is we have one of our firefighters is retiring, and May 1st is his last day, so we're trying to roll in two of the top candidates to start the process to moving forward, trying to give them the positions available so we can start moving forward with the agility, or the physicals and tests like that have to be done now.
Okay, so that's 2 of those. You said there were 6 total?
6 total, yes. I have that list I can bring to you guys so you can see them. So you can see what.
And those are full-time positions?
This is full-time.
Full-time?
Yep.
Okay.
Chief, how many do you have in the building currently, full-time?
We currently have 20, and this will bring us up to 21.
Okay.
And like I said, one's refilling one of the 20, and then like I said, the other person is actually increasing the staff by 1.
Where would you like to see it?
Well, of course, I'd like to see it a lot higher than that, but we're taking it as we can in steps. But, you know, obviously, I'd like to see a lot more hiring, but we do what we can until we get it to where we got to get it.
Fire Station 3 is at 30 in Burr, correct?
That is.
How many firefighters are in that building within a 24-hour period?
Depending on the day, normally it's 2 that would be staffed out there. We have the ability to staff 6 out there if we could. But it depends on the day. Like today, the station's not staffed because we're at 6, the minimum staffing.
You said if we could.
It has the ability to house 6 people in there.
And currently, how many do you have staff there?
It would be 2.
Just
depending
2 for
on-
now?
Depending on the day, yeah.
Okay. And then you got a new fire station coming in?
We are working on that right now.
Okay. And how many firefighters would you like to see added to your staff to accommodate that facility?
Well, as many as I could. Obviously, we'd like to increase staffing, and that's why we're trying to build the station so that, you know, if the future comes that we can start hiring more, that's what we want to do and try to fill all those seats in those houses.
You're looking to see that number currently at 21 changing to about 30, 35?
That would be wonderful.
Okay.
Okay. So of the 2 that you just mentioned, the other 4 also have been identified. So as far as you're concerned, there are 6 candidates that are ready to be hired at this time.
That we have approved for, but we're
Have a-
we're only able to hire 2. That's all we're
Oh, that's all you
allotted
have
for.
approval for? Okay.
Yes, yep.
Okay, that brings me to the next question and that's why I kind of jumped ahead to the listing as opposed to formulation of the budget. I'm assuming that the budgetary aspect of this is handled by the town board? And the approval for those positions, I want to make sure that we review that and discuss that a little bit.
Yeah, the statute states that a budget will be submitted once annually, and that does go before the town council. Right now, it's probably a little uncertain what budgetary requirements we may have. I think that might be something that comes out as we operate. So I'm not sure that we're really in a place to determine that today, but according to the statute, we are supposed to have a budget formulated, so.
Okay. Well, that's why I was asking to find out when you mentioned 6, and then we said there's 2. We're taking your word for it at this time that somebody previously has said that there's room and there's room budgeted for those 2, because I don't want to have to pass a hat around to the 5 of us to fund that additional
No,
position.
we work with the town, we worked out that we can hire 1 additional firefighter to increase our staff by 1, and then we asked with the retirement of one of our firefighters to fill his
Replacement.
spot back in, so that's what we're working on, just because we know it's going to take time, and it'll probably be right around that time that we can get these 2 in place as soon as possible.
Are there any recommendations from the board as to action on the 2 candidates that have been identified?
Probably their names would help.
Well,
Okay.
I'm not trying to
Depending
throw a
on what you
wrench
said.
in the works for you.
Their names?
So we
can
got a
put it
list
on
of
record?
6, and this will give us the permission to move forward. And then our plan was to do just a sit-down interview with the top 3 and get a feel with those top 3. And that's where we're going to go from there. But it'd be one of the top 3 would be the 2, you know, out of the top 3, we would take the 2 because of the listing.
Right, so to clarify, the 6 you identified are to fill the 2 positions.
Right, we can pick from that list of 6.
Right, okay.
Yep. That's what we're
And-
looking for.
You're just looking for approval from us to proceed, to nail it down to the 2?
Absolutely. So
That's
we
it.
can do
That's
that and
it
get
right
the
now.
process going, so I can offer the conditional offer employment to the 2 that we select.
And
I
Roger
have a
that.
question.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with this, although I was looking at the merit law earlier today a little bit. I just started glancing at it. And it appeared that there was a little more involved than just getting a recommendation from chief. So where does that put us if we accept this today?
So, and again, this process is still kind of new. I think everybody's trying to get their feet on the ground with it. But what we will be doing in the next couple of months is, and Chief explained the process that has been used previously as far as how those scores are come up with, the way they're weighted, et cetera. All of those things, those factors of hiring and how those are figured out are actually ultimately going to be in your control. Whether you want to continue doing it that way, whether you want to make changes, whether you feel that the weighting criteria that they have used are maybe not quite the way you want to go. Those are all things that you can determine, but you know, as stated at the beginning of the meeting, we've got, well, we're supposed to hold this meeting and determine just our general organizational rules within the first 30 days after your appointment, so we're doing that now. We're supposed to determine the actual substantive rules for the hiring, firing decisions, et cetera, within 90 days of appointment, so that would be within the next 60 days. So we'll have to collaborate with Chief, and I'm sure you guys will need some time to learn how things have been done, whether you like it, whether you don't, et cetera. That'll take some time, obviously, and we've got another 60 days to do that. However, we do have hiring decisions that, you know,
Right, I think that-
preferably would be done before then.
Right, I believe that we've got an immediate need identified, which is why I asked the question earlier, if you were satisfied with the process and us being new members, I don't believe that it would be in our interest to scrap of the previous data.
Agreed, yeah,
I think we defer to the Safety Commission and their ratings and approvals to allow you to proceed to do that, and then, again, formalize that, knowing that in the next 2 months, but knowing that May 1st is the deadline, that we would try to accommodate you and give some deference that the Safety Commission had done due diligence and identified good candidates.
And I appreciate that. And like I said, my recommendation going forward would be to utilize what we're using now. Obviously, if you see changes that need,
Right, and of course,
obviously we
I
make
know
changes.
that, you know, we know that we've got an ability to modify that, and I think for the terms of these 2 openings, that we should consider that the list as it stands and provide permission to continue this to get those positions filled.
Mr. President, I'd like to make it known, in my opinion, I think that the fire department should continue to hire to accommodate the needs for Fire Station 3 as well as the new firehouse. I don't want to build a new fire station and all of a sudden the only people standing in that building are firefighter Meyer and our fire chief. So our goal here is to make sure that there's plenty of firefighters available to service this town. So I know we want to keep that on the agenda moving forward, but I agree with you 100%.
And I will make a note that we want to add that to the agenda also to,
I'll make a motion, we accept the 2 candidates as
Second.
present the list for the candidates.
accept the list, yeah.
Was it the list, or are we voting on 2?
Why don't approve the list, and then we can
List,
select
okay, I make a
from that
motion to
list.
approve the list presented by the
Right.
chief.
Second.
And,
Favor?
Aye.
sorry, and
Thank you, everyone.
I'll just add to that it looks like the procedure that we're dealing with, Chief, these have all been, have they gone through all of the tests, all of the examinations, et cetera, at this
So
point?
at this point now, they'll be sent out for the perf part of it, so they're going to be sent out for psychological, physical tests, and then, yeah, those 2 tests. And then from that, once we get those results, then we'll move forward with them.
Okay. So the way the statute kind of structures this is the commission shall place the names of the applicants with passing scores on an eligibility list by order of their scores, which is what we were given. and shall certify the list to the safety board. So I think that's
Certify
what
the
we've
list, yes.
just done. Chief, we can talk about whether we need any further safety board action then, and try to schedule that on top of things based on the statutory requirements, but it looks like we've got our list.
Very good. Yeah, because
And
what
we
happens
want
is
to
if-
review that what was done. Again, with us being new first day, we want to make sure that we review what the basis of our approval was and look at that historically so we understand that, so we can decide if we're going to add to that or modify it in the future.
Absolutely.
Okay. How long do you think it's going to take you to narrow down the list, and, you know, are you going to be moving on action with recommendations of the two hires in the next meeting, or would it be sometime after that?
So usually what we do is we'll start moving forward now, and then even give the conditional offer employment to the two that we select, and then send them out to get their testing done. And then once the testing comes back, then it goes in front of the perf board, and they approve all the paperwork and everything to be sent down to state for final approval, and then basically.
How
then
long
we'll-
does
then
that
we'll do a-
process typically take?
It
Up to a
depends,
month.
yeah.
Okay.
Depending how quickly that we get the testing in, how quickly the doctors get the test results back to us. Then once we get the test results, we gotta advertise for a pension board meeting. And then once it gets done, sent to state, and the doctor only picks up paperwork once a week.
Okay.
So if we get the paperwork there before Thursday, because that's when he picks it up, we're good. We get it there on Friday, we gotta wait another week before he actually picks up the paperwork.
Right, so then we'll have to play it by ear over the next month to find out when the actual hiring date can be set for those.
Right, and then we'll
those two.
set a date to do the swearing in of the two that are selected.
Okay.
And that will be now in the merit board. We'll be doing all that here.
Okay, moving on to the next agenda item of the annual budget. Again, that I think is something that we know from a statutory process we are responsible for, but there's got to be a lot more investigation, I believe, and coordinating with the town and how the funding is administered and done before we can take any formal action on a budget.
Yeah, and
But-
since this is a decision-making body more than anything, you know, hopefully that'll be simple, but again, it's something that'll take some time and investigation to formulate.
Can I ask a question about the budget? So are we a recommending body for the fire department budget, or is this budget just for this group?
The budget's just for this board. So the scope of what this board does is really those personnel decisions. The fire department itself is still under the purview of the Board of Safety and the rest of their operations. But the budget would pertain to the operations that this board needs for its work.
Would that include the testing and the things that we discussed that's on the Board of Safety? I guess that's the part of it I'm looking at now, is looking at the testing that you've done, the online services.
That's all through our
those fees
budget.
and costs. Those obviously were paid by, you know,
They're out of our budget, fire department's
somebody
budget.
there. So that's what I was trying to figure out, is get a handle on what those costs are and what parts of the pie that all falls under. So, yeah, again, I don't have enough information on that at this time. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to tap onto the town council and lean on the statutes quite a bit to determine what's the legal and proper procedure for doing that.
So do we need to table it to the next meeting then? Is that?
Yes, I think that we're gonna have to, you know, for the agenda, I'm proposing that we will follow up on the recording secretary issue, and then also review the current hiring procedures, the online, aspect of it, what was done, and then investigate the budgeting process and figure out where the funding is coming from and how that's administered. And then also looking into the police commission aspect of things too, reviewing some of those areas. We can simplify our lives by following some of those same procedures as far as personnel issues and reviewing that information to see if anything we can reutilize instead of starting from scratch, because anything obviously to get ourselves up and running quicker. So we may need to review some of that, so we can look in with the town aspects of that as well. Now, from our standpoint, how much of this doing some of these items and discussions with this, how does that, what potentially do we run afoul of as open meeting laws? Because there's gonna have to be some of this where we're gonna be trying to collect information and data.
Sure. So, you, under the open meeting laws, the sunshine law, open door law, basically any decision-making has to occur at these public meetings. You can, we can exchange emails about, say, scheduling something or minor administrative matters that don't pertain to the decision-making of the board, but any kind of actual decisions have to occur at a public meeting. So I guess I would encourage everyone, if they have a particular interest in a certain issue, to kind of do your own research and figure out what you want to bring to the meeting and present to everyone. The purpose of the study sessions is normally to have that open, free-form conversation where we don't have to have these motions and the formal procedure.
Well, I mean, specifically, the question is, in terms of, my idea of trying to obtain copies of the police commission, operating guidelines and their format, is that something that we need to wait until the next meeting to bring forward and request, or is that something that we can start, tomorrow morning, making phone calls, and how do we go about collecting that information?
You can independently request things, for consideration at the meeting. There shouldn't be any problem with that.
Okay.
It's just, you're not making any decisions outside of these meetings.
Okay.
So it may be questionable if I call Tim and have an hour-long conversation about what his thoughts are on something that has to deal with this board.
Why don't I, just so everybody's on the same page, and I know everybody's got probably a million questions on this topic. There's a very good packet with questions and answers, frequently asked questions, that's been prepared by the Indiana Public Access Counselor that goes through this, the open door law, and it explains, like, how should I consider an email? Is that, if I send an email, is that in violation of the open door? If I have a conversation with one other board member, for example, is that in violation? Generally, I think the rule is 3 or more, and it's considered to constitute a meeting. But since they do have that very good packet, and it's not written for lawyers, it's written for folks like yourselves, just to familiarize yourself with the open door law, I can distribute that to everyone, so you're on sure footing.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then, if I may, just similarly, I know some of you guys have been digging through the statute already. It's Indiana Code 36-8-3.5 that governs the operation of the police and fire merit systems. And that contains both the rules for everything from how the board members are selected to rules concerning the actual hiring and firing provisions, promotion, demotion. It gives the statutory baseline, if you will, upon which you will then build your own systems of doing things. I would certainly encourage everybody to have a look at that, familiarize themselves with that, and then also potentially, since in the next couple of months we will have to develop further rules for the operation of the merit board. A lot of other communities throughout Indiana are doing the exact same thing we are at this point. So you're not necessarily going to find a ready guide to how these things are operating, because I think so many people are figuring it out on their own. That being said, there are communities that have already constituted their merit boards, have already set rules. One of which that I found was Fort Wayne. They have a set of ordinances that lays out how they like to do things. You may want to just kind of consult with the ordinances and web pages from other communities as you do your brainstorming on how this is
That's
supposed
why
to
my
work.
thought was, the police commission being under the same statutes as the fire merit commission and dealing with the same town board authority, to me, it seems a very logical place to start with, the blue and convert it to the red and go from there, because my concern of bringing in too much outside influence is that now we're dealing with procedures and things that, our town council is not familiar with in the history there. So if we can stay, I think for our purposes to move this forward quickly, limiting to what's currently happening within the town, and my familiarity with the police department operation and my dad being on the police commission and seeing some of those things, I have a feel for the type of things that went there. And I think that we've got fire department representatives that can help us understand a little bit, what are the specific issues that you have from, personnel issues, shift issues, hours and timing. Those things are kind of obvious between the two groups that you may not have with the police department and things. But just like they navigated the issues with, canine units that were brand new and things like that, there's certainly a way that we can build on those same type of things, keep the wording that's very much in line with what's happening, and go from there.
Yep.
So I will investigate the police commission and, the rules regarding that. And then for that, then I think we do need to table the budget, discussion until our next meeting. Do we need to make a motion on tabling the budget?
I would go ahead and do that.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to table the budget for the next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Make sure that I did not miss any of the agenda items. Okay, formulation of the rules, we discussed that at some length. We've already got a few items to add onto the agenda for next time. Are there any other issues that you'd like to discuss, or anything from the audience that we need to be aware of that we should look into next time?
Paul's got a question.
Mr. President, the secretary's responsibility, who does, like, advertising as far as for a missed meeting or a canceled meeting? Is that my responsibility?
You know what, I would defer that question, I guess, to the staff, because for most of the other boards, I think it's been members of staff that the secretary kind of delegates those responsibilities to. And I didn't type up, although I did propose agenda items for today's meeting, I didn't actually put together the formal agenda that you see, nor did I post that outside. So maybe if staff or chief could fill us in on how you guys have been doing that. and-
Where did this come from?
Right, so I'll let Stephanie talk on that part. I formulated the meeting minutes, the agenda items. I put it that way, send it to Stephanie, and then Stephanie, go ahead.
So typically, the secretary, I don't know, they don't do the minutes. The recording secretary does the minutes, the secretary is, for the one board I sit on, they sign it. And for the other board, it's the president and the vice president that sign for the Board of Safety. So it's the responsibility of the recording secretary to do the minutes, to get the agenda and the notice from the fire chief or the police chief and fax that out. I fax it, I email it. I mail it to the town where it's posted on the town website within 24 or 48 hours. So then I do the minute, or the recording secretary does the minutes, and then they are given to, their email to the board beforehand to see if there's any questions. If anybody has questions or say, you did this wrong, or I didn't say this, somebody else said that, I make the corrections and have that done before the next meeting.
Okay.
So it would not be your responsibility as the secretary for the mayor board to take care of all the internal stuff that the recording secretary would do.
If we find one.
I'm sure we'll be able to.
Yeah.
Okay.
But advertising, that all gets done by the town?
Yes, absolutely. It goes on the town website. I send the notice and agenda to the town, which is Miles Long. He's one of the IT guys for the town, and he posts it on the town website.
And then,
And that's the only requirement that we have as far as advertising? There's no-
As far as the meetings go, we're required to provide 48 hours notice of the meetings, including any special meetings or what have you. Those are just posted at the place where the meeting is being held. They also go up on the website, which is sufficient for statutory purposes. Once we get our list of regular meetings, I think there are also some media outlets that at the beginning of each year,
Share those on their
yeah,
websites and
we
things.
get those shared with them if they have requested them. But for the time being, I think we'll proceed with posting the date and time of the meetings and.
That's actually posted physically in the,
There's a case out there in the hall where it actually goes up, yep. And then there may be certain meetings at times that require some form of publication, but that is kind of on a case-by-case basis, depending on, some issues to address that issue will require notice of a public meeting. And I believe the next one of those that we might be dealing with is when we have our final set of rules formulated that you guys actually want to use for the hiring, firing decisions, et cetera. There is a requirement that those be distributed and presented at a public meeting, and there are notice requirements for that. All of which we'll kind of tackle at the appropriate time.
I guess, and with that, to clarify your physical role versus the town attorney, could you describe that interaction a little bit and what your responsibilities are to the board versus?
Sure. So my responsibility is generally to be here, answer any questions you guys have about the law. If something goes awry procedurally, to point that out. I can't tell you what to do. I can only say
Advisory on
what
the
you
way.
should be doing. And then the decision-making is in your hands. I'm there for any advice you or questions you may have about a particular statutory issue, anything like that. If something comes up and the whole board has a question about how does this work, you can tell me to go back to the office and prepare a memo for the next meeting, and I'll
But
do
you would
that
be
for you.
specific for the Fire Merit Commission standpoint, you are the contact for that, not Mr. Austin through the town attorney or things like that.
Correct, and there may be certain things that we have to interface with the council with that, you know, I would go to Dave and say, hey, you know, this has council involvement, and I'd work with him
Okay.
on that. And the more we get into this, the longer you guys have been doing it, the more I'll shut my mouth and just sit back because it's not my board.
All right. Okay, any other business you'd like to discuss?
Sorry to slow things down, but I have a question. We're here because the fire department voted to go to the merit system, is that correct?
Correct.
So, just so we know, what's the difference between the merit system as opposed to the old system, which was what, the Board of Public Works and Safety, or?
There's not necessarily a difference in the system itself as much as who's making the decisions. The merit system is spelled out by statute. It's, you know, it's a statutory creature. And for one reason or another, the state has decided that it would be best that there be a separate decision-making body for these personnel decisions, essentially for police or fire, unless those departments explicitly decide that they want to turn that down and they don't want that. Otherwise, those decisions were traditionally put before the safety board, and there was some level of council involvement too. But that's probably the best answer I can
Well,
give
my
at this
understanding
point
was that, you know, January 1st of this year, like it or not, this was created by the state for every jurisdiction.
Yeah,
So that-
unless they
and-
It
opted
was
out.
personnel only.
Unless
It
it
is
was
budget
acted
as well.
upon to say they didn't want to have it done. And then in, 20, 30, 40 years ago, there was no merit commission because there wasn't 12 full-time firefighters in Schererville. So that's kind of the difference that I saw between some of the police commission things and what has brought the fire department now up to that point is we now have 20, full-time firefighters, and January 1st, everybody in Indiana got one, whether they asked for it or not, the ability to have this assigned, so.
I'm a little bit confused, and I apologize. I've heard twice now from the attorney that our main goal here is personnel only, but we're also talking about a budget. Should we be involved in the budget or not? I thought we were personnel only.
So it's not a budget for the fire department. It's a budget for this board's operations,
commission.
basically. So it's more of an administrative budget,
Okay.
I guess you could call
I'm
it.
glad that was clarified.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we just need to be careful that we aren't putting something in that says, oh, we've got this
Yeah.
exorbitant cost that we're trying to put on somewhere, because that's gotta be paid for out of something, so.
Thank you.
Any further business?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Well, do we have business from the floor before?
Any business from the floor? Comments, suggestions?
Hello, everyone. My name's Colin Zagovic. I am the secretary for the Schererville Firefighters Union, Local 4279. I want to say thank you guys for doing this. You know, it got a little crazy about a month ago with the voting and everything, but thank you guys for your time. We look forward to working with you guys, especially hand in hand with the union, the fire department, and you guys as well. So, thank you.
You want to be recording secretary?
Any others? Okay. Do we hear a motion to adjourn?
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Tim, your phone number's still the same?